All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this next episode. So I got a lot of questions and a lot of comments on my last blog post, which was about Matt and me getting married and how we met, and we just heard the old in the background. This is the fun part about vlogs. We are going to be as natural as can be. So anyways, so I have convinced Matt to actually have a conversation with me and share his perspective on us being an interracial couple, what it was like going through the process of marrying a South Asian woman, and maybe a little bit about raising kids together. So if you're ready, let's do this. Okay. Here's Matt, everyone.
This is fun.
This is so fun. This is how we're spending our time when our two kids are napping. Well, one's in quiet time, the other one's napping. And we have a plan to make cookies. So
let's get to it.
Let's get to it, because I'm getting the looks.
Is this the video on how to make cookies?
No, it's not. So, fun fact. Every blog post that I put out there, Matt actually reads it. And he reads it just to make sure that, number one, I don't have any grammatical errors and I'm not completely talking nonsense. And number two, this is really awkward when I'm looking there and you're looking at me, and
so I should look there. Or just do this shift.
So we're newbies to this. We'll get there, although Matt probably will never want to be in another post vlog again. Okay, so in all seriousness, he checks my blog posts to make sure I'm on the right page. And also because if there's a topic that I am talking about that has any sort of implications to him and his side, I want to make sure I'm covering the whole picture. So speaking on my last post about us being an interracial couple, I got some comments and some suggestions, and just people generally curious to know what's Matt's take on it. And so even when I was writing it, I think the question did come up that, hey, like what's your side of the story? This is my side of being a South Asian woman and having to navigate through the whole process of marrying a Caucasian man, but what's your side? So this is why we're doing this.
3 questions.
So that's how I convinced Matt to do this. I have a maximum amount of questions that I can ask him, and I can't exceed it. So we're gonna get to the bottom of this with those 3 questions. You ready?
Sure, fire away.
Is this rapid fire round?
Close-ended only, please.
Okay, so Matt, when we first met, did it ever come across that we were a different couple or that we would encounter any sort of challenges if you knew that I was the one?
So oddly enough, I didn't feel any different until people started mentioning that we were interracial, which is weird because you would think you would know that, but we kind of had common interests and things kind of flowed naturally, and then people start pointing things out. You're like, oh, well, yeah, it hasn't been an issue. We've talked about it. We're kind of on the same page about differences and where things would go, and so that never really bothered me or crossed my mind.
Were you nervous at all to introduce me to your parents?
I was not.
Interesting.
My parents are pretty liberal and open about what we want to do with our life choices, so ultimately it's my decision, and I kind of support where they can.
So then how did you feel when I told you that I'm nervous introducing you to my parents?
I felt like I wasn't nervous. I felt pretty confident. because I'm pretty mature and I get along with parents, which is weird to say now that I'm a parent.
But didn't you find it weird that I was nervous to introduce you to my South Asian parents who maybe never considered that their daughter would marry someone outside of their ethnic background? Like, did you feel any pressure at all? Like, I actually remember that, so Matt met my parents at Perkins, was it Perkins? Mm-hmm. For breakfast, and he was like cool as a cucumber. He did not show any nerves. He was just, very, I want to say eloquently sitting, eating his breakfast with his pancakes and eggs and having a conversation. Not that I was surprised, but I was impressed with his level of maturity. Right?
Right?
Yeah.
And I met your father in the lineup, and he said, "So you're the boy we've been hearing about." And then I thought, well, that's odd. But
why would
I guess that
odd?
is me. Because we waited so long to meet your parents. That's why. There was conversation leading up to it, where on my side, I think you met them rather quickly because we had my nephew's birthday party I wanted to bring you to.
That's right.
And I didn't want that to be the first place they met you. So
that's right.
Things on my side were a lot faster than on your side. And I guess it's because of the cultural differences that maybe I didn't fully comprehend at the time, which allowed me to be cool as a cucumber.
Oh no, you're not going to let that one go.
No.
And actually, an observation on my side, now that we're talking about that first time when we met each other's respective parents, I remember meeting your parents, and so your parents are they're very fluent in French. Matt's background is French, and very fluent in French. That's their first language, so English is a bit of
it's a struggle.
It's a struggle. And I just remember sitting in the living room, and we were having coffee or something. I think it was a coffee. And I was trying to have a conversation with your parents, but that was a limitation for me, that I couldn't have a full-on conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it was coffee, not tea, which is also another
That's right.
fun difference.
Not your chai tea.
So they speak a little bit. They prefer French.
Yeah.
They feel uncomfortable speaking English, as you would feel uncomfortable probably speaking French.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that was just an observation that just popped into my mind that I thought I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we decided that yes, we were going to officially get married. And did you formally ask for my hand in marriage?
I did. So a tradition of ours, Caucasian folks, is to ask the parents, at least the father, but parents, prior to the daughter hand in marriage.
Yeah.
And even then, we were at Tim Hortons with your parents. And your dad was, so, I don't know what to say. I've never heard of this before. Well, I just want to make sure you guys are okay with it. And
wait, was it just my dad, or was it?
No, your mom was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they said, great. And then it was, when are you going to do it? What's your plan? And it was like, I didn't have everything mapped out. That was kind of just the first step towards the next one. Uh-huh. They wanted all the details.
Like when it was going to happen.
When's it going to happen? When are we telling family?
Yeah.
Is this public? Can we share? Da, da, da. Have you picked a ring? Or are you going to buy?
Oh, they got into those details?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I just felt like there was a lot of questions that I hadn't thought I'd be answering.
Figured out? Yeah.
Because it was way before I actually proposed.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So, fun fact, I think I mentioned this in my actual post, but Matt proposed to me on his 30th birthday. So it completely threw me off guard because I had a day of surprises planned for him. We had, I think what did we do? I don't even remember. We went out. We went out for dinner.
Birthday.
I know. It was like, what, 6 years ago?
Full day of activities planned.
We went go-karting.
Top karting, yeah.
Top karting. We went to the casino. We went, oh my God, where else did we go? We had dinner at the Shore Club. Mm-hmm. Where was breakfast? Do you remember where breakfast was? I think we went to
Had to be Cora's.
Had to be Cora's, yeah, because your favorite breakfast was Cora's.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so, and then I had planned a little surprise birthday party for him at his place. So after dinner, Matt decides, oh, I want to go for a walk. So we went for a walk behind Parliament, and all I'm doing at that point is stressing because I'm getting text messages from people at his place saying, where are you guys? Give us an ETA of when we can expect you. And meanwhile, this man is just diddly-daddlying along, and we both have different vibes going.
Very different vibes.
I'm starting to get
Probably
antsy.
the only time I thought, is this the right thing? Because I was getting all the signs, if I was looking for them, to not proceed. But then I realized at the end of the evening why you were behaving that way.
So then it happened. He proposes. And I'm just completely floored because like I said, I was not expecting this at all, especially not on his birthday. And so I have this immense amount of adrenaline flowing through me right now because I'm freaking out. We have people at his house waiting to surprise him. I'm just like, there's just so many emotions going through my mind at that point. Like, do I call my parents? Do I call friends? Like, what am I supposed to do here? And I was driving that night, and I remember, I shouldn't be admitting to this, but I was flying down Riverside.
We're pretty fast.
And you were just looking at me with like this puzzled look, like what's the rush? Why are you flying? What's the urgency here? And then obviously we get home and everyone surprises you, and then he realizes, oh, this is what the urgency was.
Yeah.
So that was just a side story that I thought I'd share. I like telling that story. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's a fun story.
It's a fun story.
And then the next morning was tough for me.
Yes.
Because it was a long night. And then another thing that we don't do is call the entire family to tell them that we're engaged. But that's something that you guys do. Mm-hmm. And then I met, I guess, your uncles for the first time.
On my dad's side?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's right. So we video called a bunch of people, extended relatives, close relatives, friends. So it turned into we had just that moment to kind of celebrate our engagement, and then we started telling people, and then we had a very intimate, I guess, engagement party with just our family, our immediate family. And then I guess the wedding planning just started. So we got engaged in September, and we were married by March. 6 months. Which is kind of unheard of. Usually people take, the year to really plan out a wedding. But I think we both knew what we wanted. We knew that we were ready to settle down together. So that was the other thing too. So Matt and I weren't allowed to, well, I shouldn't say weren't allowed, but the restriction was that we couldn't move in together before marriage.
Too many restrictions.
There were many restrictions, but I think that's just where the cultural differences come. And I don't know, Matt, if I wasn't South Asian, would you even care to get married?
It's hard to answer that question. We certainly would have moved in first.
Yeah. And then thought about marriage. And
down the road, and maybe like the rest of my brothers, probably never get married.
Yeah.
Just stay with that same woman for decades and decades.
So that's another fun fact, that Matt's the only child to be married. So, which is cool. Not that it changes anything. We're still just
yeah, it's paperwork.
Exactly. It's just it's all just official. That's the only thing. So where was I going with that? So wedding planning. So I shared my piece about how I felt with wedding planning. What was your perspective on wedding planning?
So I started wedding planning thinking it was for us. Quickly realized it had nothing to do with us, but more about the parents. And because your culture feels stronger about the marriage, it kind of just took over the conversation. And I asked my parents to just go along. We'll fit where we can and try and do a shared culture marriage, which is kind of why we had two ceremonies, to think of it.
Yeah, because we decided, so we really wanted to do a destination wedding, but we also wanted to have some sort of an event here in Ottawa. And we actually decided too that we should have the official ceremony in Ottawa because it was a pain to actually officially get married down south. So our original plan was to have the ceremony with just family and our close friends. But then we lost that battle.
To who?
Maybe you should preface this by saying that you adore your in-laws.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, so we lost that battle to my parents, only because they felt that, you know, their family, their friends here in Ottawa have become like their family because they are immigrants to Canada and they settled down back in the 70s. So they met all these people, you know, they were like a clique back in the day, right? They didn't have anyone else to lean on, so they leaned on each other. So my parents felt that it was important that we include them as a part of the celebration because I was the first daughter to get married, and they didn't want anyone to feel like they were left out. So, which I thought we had covered in Sangeet, which is the pre-wedding event, but a ceremony is you know, it's a special moment to witness two people actually uniting officially. So they didn't want anyone to feel left out. So yes, we lost that battle. It ended up becoming like, I think there was 100 people.
Yeah, and at the time I was kind of okay, but now I totally understand why invite these people and so many of them. And now it makes a lot of sense. But at the time, because it was quick, right? It was 6 months. It was kind of like, we don't need that many people. Like, let's just we want there. But now I get it. Yeah. In hindsight, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and on the topic of planning, like I'm used to like just one day, like afternoon, evening, we're done. The 5-day thing is certainly something to wrap your head around.
Okay, but you have to understand too. So Matt's gone to different South Asian weddings because I have many friends who are South Asian and who have wed before me. And so you kind of knew what the weddings were like. Yes, it can become like a 1-week affair because there's all these pre-wedding festivities that's a part of tradition. But we didn't actually do a lot of it, I'd say.
Well, because a lot of it is kind of the men and women are separate leading up to it. On my side, we didn't actually have to do anything. But you did some on your side. We did. So it didn't really impact me that much.
Yeah, but what we did is we kept it very, like, we just kept it to family. So like I had like the haldi ceremony, and again I talk about this in my blog, but we had the haldi ceremony, so the turmeric, we had the chura ceremony, so like putting on the special bangles to indicate that to identify that you're a newlywed woman. What else did we do? We had the sangeet. So normally, like, lately the tradition has become that the sangeet would be, you know, from both families mixing together and celebrating together, whereas kind of like back in the day it was like the woman or the bride side would do their own and the groom side would do their own. But we I guess because we really wanted like to unite everything, we decided to surprise our family and friends with a dance. And I think that was a nice touch to the Sangeet, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, like you guys like crashed our party, and then we we performed our surprise dance. And just doing that dance too, I think it was so fun. You know, that was a part of the planning, and it kind of kept things like light. We had like Matt's friends help us out with the choreography and the music, and Matt's friends also participated in the dance. So it was fun.
It was a lot of fun, yeah.
It was a lot of fun. So I think that was the nice touch to kind of like bring everything together. And even on the night of the Sangeet, your brothers came with some of their significant others, and like your friends were there. So that was kind of like the crash of the party. And then ceremony time. So
it's funny, it's on that topic about my brothers going. my dad, like I told my dad to come with us, like, no, it's okay, you guys go, have fun.
Yeah.
And then when my brothers got home, they're like, wow, that was a lot of fun, Dad, you should have come. He's like, we should have told me. Like, we did tell you, you were just, they're kind of stuck in their own like comfort zone and not really. But that was interesting, so.
And like we did, we wanted them to come, but I think they were just, like they thought it was our own separate event and they didn't want to impose or anything like that. And I think that's the other thing too, is that your parents are like, they're very confined in their bubble, and sometimes stepping out of it's a little, like it's like the unknown territory. They're just not, they'd rather not.
Yeah, they establish their own comfort zone.
Exactly. Okay, so then the ceremony. Okay, so fun fact. There's a lot of fun facts in this, but I just feel compelled that we have to share this. Because this is another part of the whole cultural difference thing. So my parents actually had suggested that Matt and I's ceremony be a Sikh ceremony. So I'm actually half Hindu, half Sikh. My mom is Sikh and my dad is Hindu, which in the grand scheme of things is just not totally relevant, I guess. They're just two different religions. At the end of the day, I'm Indian. I'm a Canadian-born Indian with South Asian background roots. So it was just a formality, and I think my mom just really wanted that, we have it at the Gurdwara, so the Sikh place of worship. And when we explained this to Matt's parents that, usually men sit on one side and women sit on the other side, and we have to sit on the floors, we have to cover our heads, they felt a little uncomfortable, I'd say.
It was so far removed from their norm, that they were kind of uncomfortable with the idea of just making that leap to something completely different that they didn't really understand or know why the difference is.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, we had the Hindu
Yeah.
ceremony, which was very much like a Catholic one in terms of the seating arrangements, how the bride and groom were introduced, and it's just the actual tying of the knot is different, the ceremony.
Yeah.
But otherwise, everything else seemed kind of familiar, and I gave them a heads up about the shoes.
Yeah, so they'd have to remove their shoes when they got into the temple.
Yeah.
And
Or know that you would try and steal, your bridesmaids would try and steal my shoes.
So that's the other fun tradition.
Yeah, and they didn't understand why, but that's okay. I explained it to them, so when it happened, they're like, okay, they were able to explain to my aunt and uncle why this was happening. But
yeah, and that's one thing too that we tried to do as much as possible is talk to them about it before the actual ceremony. We did have a rehearsal as well, so we invited them to the temple. The priest kind of went step by step and explained every single process that would be involved during the ceremony. And so we tried to be as transparent as we could. I think we did. We did good, right?
It was a balance.
It was a balance. I had a question for you and I forgot.
This is gonna be your third question.
We might have to add in a couple more. So don't leave me hanging here. So you were okay during the planning? Like, did you feel like your parents were asking certain things from you and it wasn't happening, or?
No, my parents were pretty easygoing about it. They kind of just went with the flow.
Were your parents?
Which made things easier, actually, because if they had strong opinions about what they wanted, it would have been a lot more challenging to plan and make everyone happy. In this case, they're kind of just certain things that they wanted, we were able to kind of give them, and then the rest was obviously they wanted to have it in a church, so we gave them the chapel in Punta Cana.
That's right. But
so that was the compromise. Yeah.
So that was a compromise, but they weren't like pushing you or.
Yeah, they were pretty good about it.
They were good about it. Yeah. I would have to agree that everything kind of went very, very smoothly. Of course, there was the natural bumps along the way, but
that's not a culture thing, that's a wedding planning thing.
I think so, but I think yes and no. It's a part of the wedding planning, and you have to, it's the common saying, pick and choose your battles. But I think we just had an extra layer that we had to be aware of, and that was making sure that we were finding that right balance to pleasing everyone else, because let's be real, weddings are not for the couple. It's for everyone else. And that was very evident early on. Okay, so my final. Okay, so I'm gonna make this the final question.
All right.
Because I can sense.
Well, the baby's awake. So.
Yeah. Eliza just woke up and we can hear her through the monitor. Now that we're married for 5 years, we've known each other. Well, officially dating for 6.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We
Yeah.
dated. So
Sounds
so we
right.
officially know each other for 6.5 years. We dated for the first year and a half. We went fast lane. We met each other. We started dating. We got engaged. We got married. We had our first baby within our first year of marriage. We were celebrating Quebec City, and I was 3 months pregnant at the time. Now we have kids. What's your take on it? How do you feel that culture has had some sort of a presence in our relationship as not just as a married couple, but now as a mother and dad, father?
So, I guess define culture versus upbringing. Obviously, culture influences upbringing, but there are certain things that aren't culture related that, like the way you were raised versus the way I was raised, and our views on how children should be raised kind of are grown from that perspective. So, yeah, I mean, it's fast paced, and it's almost like we're learning to be ourselves in a new environment. Kind of like we're okay as a couple, one-on-one, it's fine. Introduce a kid, okay, well, things change completely. Introduce a second, they change even more, where things you think would be easier, a bit more challenging. And it's kind of taking in the different views and opinions of others of how to raise these kids. And then sometimes you kind of like, okay, well, what do you think? What do I think? And let's just do that.
But then I think we are also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're also influenced based on where we come from, right? And then sometimes we clash on certain things, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so Amia is starting at a Catholic school in September, and I didn't have any sort of big hesitations or anything like that, but I think we just have to remind ourselves that she's going to the school not based on the religion, but more so based on the convenience of her being there, right?
A bit of both.
So that's her.
Yeah. I mean, no, because I feel like religion is much more present on your side. Having her go to a Catholic school just balanced that out for her to understand.
But I'm not religious. I think my parents are religious, but I'm more on the spiritual side. So I believe, yes, there is a greater good, but I don't believe in the certain takes of religion and how we should abide by certain rules. But I'll leave that for another time. So I think it was just like, and you're baptized, right? You were baptized at a young age. And we had that discussion if we were going to baptize our children, and I said I wasn't comfortable with the idea, and you said, okay, that's fine, and so we decided not to.
Yeah, because it should be a choice.
It should be a choice. It should be their choice, and when they get to that age that they're able to understand, then they can decide what they want to do.
Yeah, just like religion should be a choice.
Exactly. It should never be imposed.
Catholic by association.
Yeah, it should never be imposed. But okay, so do you feel like your story has been heard?
Sure. That's just it took me 27 minutes to tell my story. That's pretty impressive.
I know, I'm saying that because, like I said, I think Eliza just woke up, so we should probably attend to her. We will not get to make our cookies, unfortunately, right now. But I think it was important to have this quick chat. This is just like a very tiny glimpse of what goes on in this man's mind over here. He has a lot more to share. So maybe I can convince him to join us again. But this is also a very small perspective on how things are and how things went when we first met. I think the bonus in all of this is that both of our families are chill, are very laid back. There's no crazy expectations. My side maybe sometimes here and there.
I believe the words was, when's the third coming? as soon as she was born.
Yeah, that's not cool. That's that's not cool. So on that note, we will end this conversation here. Like I said, maybe I can convince you to hop on another conversation about another topic. I do want to talk about in one of our next topics, and I think you would be a good candidate to chime in on this.
Okay.
Considering you are their father, is appearance and looks, and how we just become so categorized into looking a certain way, or even our kids, how we've been told so many times that, oh, you're gonna have beautiful babies because you're South Asian and Matt's Caucasian, so mixed babies are just naturally beautiful babies. Which I would have to say,
I just think our babies are beautiful babies.
Of course, that's our bias. But I mean, any baby is beautiful. Any baby is a blessing. I've always said this. So maybe I can get your take on that one day.
Maybe. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.